Where do they get the children? Where do all these children come from? Well, it has a lot to do with illegal immigration. The porous border on our southern border, the porous, and actually Canada, there's a weird loophole. Maybe someone can share a link about that story, about the loophole up in Canada. Well, I don't remember the story exactly, but let's just focus on the southern border. So the southern border, there are so many unaccompanied minors that just they come up, they get snatched up, they get sold off. Yeah, it's sad. Yes, and foster care, guys. Foster care is a huge CPS. It is a huge scam. There's this woman named Nancy Schaefer who, I believe she's from Georgia, and she was investigating child trafficking through the CPS, and she got murdered. And I believe that was in 2010.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode of the Can We Talk About It podcast. Today we are talking about where the children are coming from and how this relates to all of the protests against ICE. On the outset, it looks innocent. It's about, ICE is killing Americans and they're not doing their job and they're not addressing the real issue. And so to the naked eye, it looks as though, ICE is just going rogue, so to speak. But what most of us know after going through the Epstein files and going through Senate hearings is we're realizing that this is also very much about the children who are coming in through the southern border. And this is where they are getting the children. They are getting the children from two places, from CPS, foster children within the United States, and then through the southern border in Mexico. That is how they're bringing the children in. All of those children who went missing under Obama, yes, those children were very likely trafficked and used for people such as Jay-Z, Jeffrey Epstein, etc. And the reason why ICE needs to be, quote unquote, out is because part of what ICE does is that they protect that border, which means people cannot get in. So they work with, the people who are in the United States, gathering these children up and delivering them to our elites on a platter. So we know that Epstein is working with children, these women and these kids that he's trafficking. We don't know a lot. Yes, some of them are American, but quite a bit of them are coming in through the southern border. So I want to share with you guys three things today. Number one, I want to share with you a file from the Epstein list. I want to share with you this email talking about a ranch in Mexico. So let me add this to the stage. So this is, the messenger is redacted, and this is forwarded to Jeffrey Epstein, and it says, for what it's worth. Some interesting facts that should be passed on to the investigative agent on the Epstein case. I will also copy Director Mueller. Zero Trust, belonging to Epstein, won an $80 million lottery ticket in New Mexico. Zorro Ranch, belonging to Epstein, sits close to U.S.-Mexican border where most trafficked children are routed prior to being dispersed to the East Coast. What is on the East Coast? Oh, Capitol Hill. Oh, the Pentagon. Oh, the White House. Oh, D.C. Oh, Delaware. So yes, we know for a fact that his ranch sits on the border, which means they can, if kids or families are even walking by, or the cartel wants to dump some children off to them, they can do so very quickly and easily because it's sort of protected in the way that it's private property. Several high-ranking officials and friends of Epstein have confirmed that he has sexual relations with trafficked underage minors. Both Ghislaine and in New York, and someone was served last week, two key witnesses in Epstein's camp. Thank you, Conchita. Now, So this is proof and evidence that this is what happens here. And I firmly believe, you guys, I've said this now since talking about the Epstein files, that every single person who is in a position of prominence and power is a sicko. I'm just convinced. So we know that our celebrities are put through rituals and are, whenever they become a star, and I mean like extreme fame and fortune, such as Billie Eilish and Bad Bunny, we know that they've likely been through some sort of process, some sort of grooming. And all of this ice out, no ice, they're bad, is really a cover up for what is happening behind closed doors. Everybody in Hollywood knows, everyone who's genuinely in Hollywood knows that they are trafficking children for the elites, for Jay-Z, for Clive Davis. We know that. This is not new news, but the reason why they are so loud and so vocal about it is because it's messing with their bottom line, right? It's messing with their bottom line. Now, how do we know that this is true? I want to show you first this. To me, this was actually shocking that it wasn't national news. I want to show you this clip here.
I state without reservation that the United States federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history.
The United States federal government is the world's largest trafficking agency in modern history. And he's going to explain to us why.
The probability that thousands of these UACs are being raped at this very moment is 100%. Chairman Higgins, Ranking Member Correa, Chairman Bishop, Ranking Member Ivey, and the members of the subcommittee, I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the evil of child trafficking caused by the open border policies under President Joe Biden's administration. I served in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years until I retired as a deputy patrol agent in charge in San Diego sector. I worked under 5 presidential administrations, and only one president secured the border, President Donald Trump. Border Patrol agents went from working and being supported by the greatest border president in American history to the worst, President Joe Biden. My last year in the Border Patrol was Joe Biden's first year in office. On his first day in office, I watched in disbelief as 94 executive orders cascaded down from Washington, D.C., obliterating every immigration policy that had been provided the most secure border in America's history.
So he's a Border Patrol agent. He's not ICE, but he's a Border Patrol agent, and they work in tandem, right? They're supposed to be working together. One of them protects the border. The other one says anybody who did sneak past Border Patrol needs to come out. And you have to, I'm going to show you guys a clip in a little bit of someone explaining how the people get in illegally and they help the trafficking, right? They come in, they talk to the Jeffrey Epsteins, they talk to the cartel, and they support the trafficking of children inside. So once they get past Border Patrol, they're able to do this more easily. And this is what he's trying to explain.
Patrol agents were forced to carry out unconstitutional orders that violated every law in the Immigration Nationality Act. President Biden, through Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, created policy out of thin air, ignored federal immigration law, and facilitated the largest mass invasion into America that the world has ever seen. The United States of America will have spent hundreds of billions of dollars in 4 years to fund the needs of over 50 million illegal aliens that populate our nation. Between 1 in 6 and 1 in 7 residents in America is an illegal alien. America has suffered the greatest demographic shift in modern history. After serving in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years, spending a year researching and writing a best-selling book entitled Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System, and filming 2 documentaries, I state with complete certainty that Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas intentionally, strategically, and purposely weaponized illegal immigration and used it as a tool to fundamentally transform America. Inside this invasion, the unspoken evil of child trafficking, and more specifically child sex trafficking, has flourished. At the end of this current administration, the number of children trafficked will have grown to over 550,000 unaccompanied alien children known as UACs. This horrific number of children will have been arrested, released into America, and then lost. To put this into context, during President Trump's last year in office, Customs and Border Protection arrested 30,557 UACs who were accounted for and not lost. Conversely, in the first year of Biden's presidency, CBP arrested 147,975 UACs, most of which are unaccompanied for and lost. In 2023, Congressional Hearings, Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra, and Director of Office of Refugee Resettlement, Robin Marcos, forced to admit that their agency had no contact with over 85,000 UACs. They were lost. What did DHS, HHS, and ORR do to correct this humanitarian disaster? Nothing.
Absolutely. They were quote unquote lost, which means they released them out and said, sent the goons after them to go pick them up and to go give them to whoever needed children for their parties. It's disgusting. And I think, again, it's how we are equating this crime against humanity versus, ICE and these protests is just, it shows how disconnected we are from reality and disconnected we are from what the government is actually doing. Now, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Sasha Riley has already explained to us what Donald Trump is doing, what he has done in the past, at least. Maybe he's too old. Maybe he stopped after, his little incident. Maybe he stopped because he can't even sit down, for longer than 10, 15 minutes without needing to change his diaper. We don't, maybe he stopped after that. But nonetheless, Donald Trump, whether or not he did it just for his numbers for Republican voters, or whether he did it to protect the children, what we do know is that closing the border and having a strict border policy actually prevents so many children from being trafficked. Having an open border allows them to come in freely and to be trafficked. And I believe that there is nefarious intent behind this.
In fact, all three agencies created further policies and procedures to increase the efficiency of moving UACs from the border to the interior of the United States to unknown and unvetted sponsors. Unaccompanied alien children were being handed off to total strangers. Then they disappeared into the darkness of labor and sex trafficking.
So they were handed off to unidentified people. So they would collect these unidentified alien minors, unaccompanied. Then they would hand them off to someone random and say, "Oh, we don't know where they are. We don't know where they are." Now, the last thing I want to show you guys is I want you to watch this video from this young man. He's actually talking to Charlie Kirk. I hate that Charlie Kirk interrupts him so much. It's actually bothersome that he interrupts him so much because he's sharing an important story. And I really want to find out who this guy is and what his family does. But he says that he's a missionary child, okay? And so they go to Mexico and they do missionary work. And he explains that once the cartel members convert, they tell them the truth about what's happening.
I come from a missionary family to Mexico. We were with cartel members. We see them convert to Christianity, saying how they traffic thousands of children, specifically to Democratic politicians. And they actually said the biggest client for their product is the U.S. government.
Did you hear that? The biggest client for their product, which is the children. So the cartel is helping the United States get their children.
Biggest client for their product is the U.S. government, and that actually exploded under the Biden administration.
Wait, so the cartels were telling your family they were
directly in prison.
They were trafficking kids to Democrats?
Yes.
So it's legit. Cartels are trafficking kids as sex slaves for Democrats?
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, they're doing it for everybody. It's not like it's just them. Maybe maybe that's how they get their batch. I have a feeling that the Republican Party gets theirs from American sources. That's just my inclination, is that when the Republican Party does their sex slave thing, they're using friends of their friends and modeling agencies and things like that. Whereas the Democrats are just using people from the cartel. So this is not to say that one person is better than the other, or one side is better than the other, but understanding the push for an open border, this makes a lot of sense.
They actually said the biggest client for their product is the U.S. government, and that actually exploded under the Biden administration.
Wait, so the cartels were telling your family they
were directly in prison.
They were trafficking kids to Democrats?
Yes.
So it's legit. Cartels are trafficking kids as sex slaves for Democrats?
Yes.
Is this modern day slavery?
Yes, they are.
So just to give some detail for the audience.
Yes, sir.
You have an 11-year-old girl.
Yes.
What do they do with that girl?
They actually have to hide her. We were in Coahuila, which is where the Zetas were at. They just got eliminated, but they were the biggest traffickers. They actually kind of began to dismantle under the Trump presidency, even for the Mexican government. But the biggest, we've known people that had to leave states, hide them, literally take them, just completely.
And these girls become prostitutes
100%.
At 12 years old.
Yeah. Parents have sold their kids into it just to survive.
So when you hear that 320,000 kids have gone missing under Kamala Harris.
100% accurate. We see thousands and thousands of migrants on top of trains coming across, just destroying everything across the path.
Do they mean America well or harm?
Absolutely harm.
So the cartel works with the American government
100%. So
to bring these kids as sex slaves. Yeah.
Yes.
This is not a joke, everybody.
This is not.
We've been saying this for a long.
I wish he would have let him talk, because he actually has. When you're working in prisons, when you're doing prison ministry, or when you're doing ministry with former cartel, there's a lot of, when they repent and they turn, they share a lot of information. And I really wish Charlie would have just let him talk, But the point stands. They are working hand in hand, not only to bring drugs into the United States, but hand in hand to bring children into the United States for the purposes of having sex slaves.
Time.
You guys can go. We have
It's the
Facebook pages
largest.
and
It's the
everything over
largest
there,
sex
yes.
slave trade in the world history.
100%.
And Kamala Harris is overseeing it and co-signing on it.
That's exactly right. So this, and of course, I know I feel so badly saying this, but I just don't think that she is like the smartest or sharpest tool in the shed. I think someone said, you need to sign off on this policy. And so, she did. But the point is that this is how evil, honestly, the entire system is being revealed to everyone. And the decision that we're going to have to make is, what are we going to do about it? Because now we know you can't. Maybe this video would have shown up on our timeline, 3 or 4 years ago, and we'd have said, it's not, he's exaggerating. The numbers are, wildly exaggerated. But now we have Border Patrol agents coming out. Now we have emails from the Epstein files that are showing us that this is entirely accurate, and that opening the border wasn't just about getting more Democrats into the country. It was also about lining their pockets through the Somali fraud, getting children so that they can have sex slaves, and having people that will be tied to them and voting for the next 100 years. That is the point of this. So when I see these celebrities, I'm, diehard Democrats, diehard, anti-ICE, I know that it's not just because they care about humans. They don't actually care about humans. It's actually because they are fighting for the supply to keep coming. They're fighting for that supply through the border. They need us to have a loose border and a loose immigration policy, because that is how we keep children that they can use in the industry in the United States. And it's absolutely disgusting. All right, you guys, let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like this on your way out.